Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're doing episode number 14 of I Build Your Teams series, where I build my viewers' teams into the best teams possible for my team unlimited and or competitive play based on how much MT they have and what their squad is currently looking like. I say and or competitive play, but there is no competitive play right now. I will say this, though. Unlimited is so sweaty. If y'all are playing Unlimited these days, I respect it. I am too. I've started playing again. I'm trying to get good because I used to be great at this game. I'm kind of washed. I'm trying to get better. Unlimited is so sweaty, so I'm trying to help y'all upgrade your lineups for Unlimited for those of y'all who are out there braving that sweat fest each weekend for your ring and all that stuff, trying to play Unlimited, trying to get better, all that stuff. And first today comes in from my boy Caps, who has 180,000 MT to 200,000 MT. He also has like a bajillion VC though, to be fair. And he's got a good squad. SGA and D-Book, 2 elite point guards. Jimmy and Ray Allen. I love Jimmy. Ray Allen at the 2 next to D-Book especially. This pairing doesn't make sense to me because Ray Allen's kind of an undersized 2, not an elite defender. D-Book is the best offensive guard in the game in my opinion, but also not a great defender and also kind of undersized at 6'5". So to me, when I look at this, I go, yeah, D-Book should 100% be in your lineup if you want to bring him off your bench and start SGA. I totally get it, but the shooting guard you should have next to him should not be a guy like Ray Allen. It should more be a guy like Jimmy Butler. I will say this. I don't love Mikal Bridges, but I think it looks like it's an unsellable version of him. Tatum does not look to be unsellable, and it all depends on what you have on your KD, to be honest. Because if your KD is souped up, he makes more sense for me at power forward than Tatum does, considering he's 6'10 and he gets every badge. So you could potentially have things on like anchor on him, brick wall, and other interior badges potentially upgraded and added that really help him out at power forward. For me, though, actual upgrades. You have 180k MT, but you also have the VC. I would buy 2 players. Number 1, Wilt needs to go. You can replace him with Anthony Davis, in my opinion. Unless you are grinding towards Kevin Garnett and or Hakeem Olajuwon, in which case leave Wilt in there until you get that guy, basically. The other upgrade is backup shooting guard, and your guy is Kawhi Leonard, in my opinion. Ron Artest is another option. Same price. You could go with either one. I think Kawhi is slightly better. You could even get both of them if you wanted to take Mikal Bridges out of your lineup as your backup small forward as well. With that being said, I'm fine with Bridges at backup small forward. I would probably move KD to power forward and run Tatum at the starting small forward, and I would definitely replace Ray, and Wilt needs to go, whether that's with AD or a free card. That's up to you. Next squad is from Scott. He's got 1.1 million MT, but he needs help picking targets to improve his team. Well, this team is interesting because like that's a lot of MT, but this team isn't very good. D-Wade and Jason Kidd, Jaylen Brown, and that Malik Monk card sucks. Rudy Gay's fine, although you said you sold him. Jeremy Grant's pretty good, and I guess he's unsellable, so you could use him. Julius Randle, not bad. Bobby Portis, not bad, but not fully upgraded either. D-Rob is obviously awesome. He's your best card. He's your center. This team needs some assistance though. D-Rob is your starting center for sure. I would definitely stick with that for right now. And for the time being, you may upgrade this at some point, but I don't mind that Julius Randle card. I actually like him a lot. Already did gameplay with him. If y'all want to check that out, I was very pleasantly impressed. And finish evoing up your Bobby Portis. So you have that. You can have Wilt in your last 3 as well if you need another scorer. Now, where is the rest of this team? This video is going to be really long if I don't speed up. I'm going to have to go a little quicker with the next couple squads. But he said he sold Rudy Gay. He's got Jeremy Grant as an unsellable. That's a card that 100% can stay in the lineup. The rest of your team can use significant upgrades, and you have 1.1 million MT to work with basically to upgrade the rest of your team. Point guard is Devin Booker for sure. I think Wade is your backup point guard, or J Kidd, whoever you prefer, is still going to be fine. Shooting guard, probably Kawhi. Again, in my opinion, I think that's your best option. Backup shooting guard is interesting to me because I would say Ron Artest is probably be your best option, but if you wanted to go with a cheaper, more offensive option, you could also go with a Nick Young, and you do have, I guess, Michael Beasley as well on your last 3, didn't you? So that's another option of somebody that I guess you could potentially put in there. He's unsellable. You could slide him in at the 3 over Jeremy Grant if you wanted to. Starting 3, you know what? Do this. This is the idea. This is the idea, I think. Actually, I like this a lot better. Something like this, and then you need a power forward. That's the last spot on your team that needs an upgrade. I don't really know who I would recommend you buy here, but that's because you've already bought 3 diamonds, which are D-Book, Artest, and Kawhi. Between those 3 guys, you're spending 500 and some odd thousand MT, a little over 500k, like 540k-ish. So you're still going to have over 500k left. You got 1 more spot at power forward. You could go with an Anthony Davis. You could go with a Jared Vanderbilt and evo him up. You could even slide a Michael Beasley to the 4 if you want. You could pick up a cheaper guy than Kawhi and pick up a 4 instead. You could do something like this. Wilkes, maybe, for example, something like that. There are other lineup possibilities, but I think something along these lines, or if you want to go a little more expensive, something like this would be a really, really good lineup to work with. Could even like slide AD to the bench to give you more bench depth, work to upgrading your bench a little bit, but couple of pieces like this, especially D-Book, or a wing, and like a big will really help out your team a lot. We got 4 more teams, though. We got to go. So this next squad comes in from JJ's. No money spent, but he is locking in for Kobe. Says he'll have like 200K left over. Needs a power forward. And he doesn't have Giannis. That's fair. I respect this team, by the way. No money spent for this team is crazy. 40 cards collectible is great, but like also useless because that wheel sucks. So I would not recommend putting him in the lineup. Rest of your team's awesome. You got 1s, 2s, 3s, and 5s. Really set. 4 needs an upgrade, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. If you have 200K left over to get Kobe, honestly, you said you're close to KG. That's one of your power forwards right there. You're fine until then if you're going to get KG in the next few days. Your other power forward could be LeBron. You could just slide LeBron to the 4. You could buy Anthony Davis. That's another option. Either of those 2 options, I think, are great options. For me, if you already have a card in your collection that you feel comfortable running as a 3, some sort of maybe unsellable card or another card that you have locked in, even a guy like Pascal Siakam will be fine as a temporary 4. I would be totally cool with him considering you have Braun locked in, and that means you have Siakam. That means you have Chet. I understand Giannis can be a mismatch against those guys, but for right now, since you already have them locked in, I think it is probably in your best interest to not spend a ridiculous amount of MT. But if you do want to buy a player, Anthony Davis is going to be your guy at the power forward position. Next squad's from Rone. He's got 200,000 MTs. Says he's going for KG, expecting next week to be Wemby. Like this squad, starting lineup is fine. Bench is good with the bigs, but his 1 through 3 is all guys who are not strong defenders. Not a fan of that. Harden can slide to your 1 or just keep Cade. One of the 2. Pick one of them, take the other one out of the lineup, or put them in your last 3 or whatever. But would not put them both on the court at the same time, and I don't think I'd put Michael Beasley on the court with these guys either. I would get rid of him. Well, actually, it looks like Cade and Beasley are both sellable with my eyes. I think it's kind of hard to see sometimes, especially because I'm kind of far away from my screen. But I think Cade and Beasley are both sellable. So maybe you move Harden to the 1, and then you sell Cade, sell Beasley. You already got 200K, buy 2 players, Andrew Wiggins and Gerald Wallace. You got 2 elite defensive wings who are both capable slashers, capable offensively, can shot create a little bit as secondary creators, next to Harden, who is your elite offensive 1, and then your 2 through 5 are a bunch of great defensive cards. It's a much better team, in my opinion. Isn't really going to cost you any sort of MT, because I think you'll pretty much still be around that same 200K price point after selling Cade and Beasley and buying Wiggins and Gerald Wallace, and your team is just as, well, honestly, your team's better because your bench will be better. Your starters are still fine, and like you said, KG will be home soon. You could throw him in at your starting power forward, bring Chet off the bench or take him out of the lineup. We'll see what comes next week, of course, but without having to spend any extra MT, you can make your team better right now, just going Harden, Gerald Wallace, and Andrew Wiggins instead of Cade, Harden, and Beasley off the bench. Last 2 teams, Crops has 200K MT, says he's level 25. You could get Jimmy this week if you're willing to grind. Grind some offline, get the modes done, work towards KG maybe if you're trying to get him. I don't know. This team, I mean, you have D-Book and you have Cade, so you got good point guards, which is really nice. I think Julius Randle is better than David West, and I think he's honestly better than Jared Vanderbilt too, but JV and Randle as your 2 centers for right now is fine. Embiid and Portis at center as well is also fine. I like Nick Young. I don't like him next to Devin Booker, honestly, just because both of them are such offensive cards. Kuzma's an offensive card. Herter's an offensive card. Dorian Finney-Smith is fine, but not great defensively. Like, this team is in need of some defense. This team also, I think, is in need of a makeover. We're going to go to this last team. We're going to get this one done real quickly, and then we'll go back to that squad because that team needs some work. We'll redo that whole one. But this one has Cade and Lonzo, as well as Ron Artest, Nick Young, Paul George, Chris Bosh, AK, D-Rob, and Wilt. He says everyone's sellable, which means everyone except for Bosh and Wilt, obviously, because those are free cards. I would assume you're probably going for level 40, which means once you get Jimmy Butler, he could be plugged into the lineup at some point. But for the time being, good squad, not insane. Could use a couple of upgrades, especially I think at point guard and potentially off your bench. I am actually very, very good with Lonzo, Nick Young off the bench. I think that's a great pairing, but I think your backup 3 needs some help. I'm cool with AK defensively at the 4, honestly, and Wilt I don't love, but you could swap. I don't know. I would want another option instead of Wilt, even potentially like just like a Bobby Portis at the end of the bench as a guy you can sub in to give yourself some spacing. Put in that defensive player of the year Amethyst locker code and get that Jaren Jackson Jr. and throw him at the end of your bench. So you have some spacing if you need it. Just make sure you have a third guy in your last 3 that you can plug in for Wilt in case he's getting paint sat and it's killing your offense. But at the 3, sell Michael Beasley, buy Andrew Wiggins. That's the first change. That upgrades your 3 a lot, and I think Beasley just doesn't fit as an offensive card next to already having a primary ball handler and Nick Young. And then sell Cade and buy Devin Booker. I know that's going to use most of your MT, but Devin Booker is the best scorer in the game, and he will transform your offense if you know what you're doing. In my opinion, if you could get D-Book and Andrew Wiggins instead of Cade and Beasley, and I know that's a good chunk of MT. If you can do it, you're going to notice a huge upgrade to your squad, and I think that'll help you out a ton. So just my opinion, and you can always make some MT back. Do some grinding this week, get back up to 180K or whatever, so you can get a player next weekend as well. But I think D-Book could be a game changer for this squad. Crops, like I said, we're coming back to this squad because I think it is another team that is in need of a bit of a makeover. He has Devin Booker, who, like I said, is awesome. And when you look at the rest of his team, guys that I'm totally cool with keeping for right now are Embiid, as well as Julius Randle, Jared Vanderbilt off the bench, and I think Bobby Portis as well. The rest of the squad literally might all get changed, but he doesn't quite have the MT to change everything probably right now is one thing I will say. So you're probably going to have to keep some of these guys in the lineup temporarily. For example, a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, honestly, Shane Battier I think is probably better. I actually kind of like that Shane Battier card. I think he's really good. Another cheap small forward. If we're just plugging in some cheap filler guys for the time being, PJ Tucker and Shane Battier are going to be better filler small forwards who are going to defend better and just give you more, I think, overall than DFS and especially Kuzma, because Kuzma just doesn't fit next to a bunch of other offensive cards. Now you need 2s. Nick Young is great as one of them. I'm cool with it, but not next to Devin Booker, because you need defense if you're going to play Nick Young as your 2. You got to surround him with defense, and so he'll come off the bench. Starting 2 needs to be more of a defensive 2 guard. Again, we're going with a cheap option, but Gerald Wallace is awesome. I think he's a great cheap card. When you get Jimmy Butler, he can swap out for Gerald Wallace. He could swap out for PJ Tucker or Shane Battier. Honestly, I would probably plug him in at the 3 and then move PJ Tucker to the bench. Would probably be what I would do with this squad personally right now, because you just need more defense next to guys like D-Book and Nick Young. And then backup point guard, honestly, you don't have the NT right now, which is kind of the challenge. So I guess you kind of have to run Cade because he's still capable enough defensively. But this defensive duo, I don't love, especially since Davey and Portis also aren't insane defensive wings, or cards, I should say. Like, this team is good, but your defense is, your bench is just lacking a little bit of defense. I do think this lineup, though, doesn't actually spend much MT at all. In fact, it might even not spend really any MT, because none of the players we're buying are very expensive. It's Gerald Wallace, Shane Battier, PJ Tucker. Those guys are cheap. Combined, I think they're less than 40K or just over 40K between all of them. So if you're able to sell some stuff, you're really not going to lose much MT. And I think this team is a lot better than this team, but at the same time, it is still in need of work. So I would definitely try to save up some MT so that you can pick up a couple more pieces over the next couple weeks, but this would be a great start for that squad. So that's the last team from today's video, and that's going to do it for this one. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.